This is going to be about From Here to Eternity, the book. I had absolutely no desire, none, zero, zip, to read a great big thick book. I've done that several times, and I did not want to do it again. And I had a similar lack of motive to read a book of any size on the subject of war. I'd had enough of war. And for the book in particular, From Here to Eternity, I had not read it because I think it was not about my time and circumstances. It was all about my father's life. It was his war. And if anybody should be reading that book, it would be him. Since he's dead, he won't be reading it now. And I doubt that he did. I don't recall ever seeing him with a book. But he might have read it. It was a big hit and critically acclaimed when it came out in the early 1950s. Almost immediately turned into a movie, also a smashing success. Nothing I was interested in, however. In many ways, it was not for me. But, I was reading a book by Tom Robbins, and he mentioned the book, From Here to Eternity. And he wrote about it with a measure of respect that bordered on reverence. Enough that it pushed me to thinking, hey, I should read that book. Then I saw how big it was. Now, I have no idea why Tom Robbins would like that book, From Here to Eternity, by JasJones1. First of all, he's a pacifist and a romantic, and his sensibility leans heavily to the comic side of things. And stylistically, he worships the imagination and what it can create out of airy nothing, while Jones is a realist, as realistic as anyone could be, so much so that it made me laugh to think of Tom Wolfe acting for all the world as if he were the font of realism in the American novel. Jones's book is one enormous, painful, bracing dose of reality, fictitious reality. But, and it's a big but, From Here to Eternity is a great book, as great a book as can be in my estimation, and I believe Robbins was overcome by the pure magnitude of the book, sweeping away any biases that might have caused him to object to it in any way. From Here to Eternity was created with greatness in mind, and I think Jones succeeded mightily in achieving his lofty ambition. It is a massive book, intended to be an epic. Jones surely had Homer and Tolstoy in mind when he wrote it. But Homer's Book of War is filled with kings and gods and heroes, and Tolstoy wrote about the Russian upper classes, the aristocrats, and that bloated imposter Napoleon. Jones's book is populated with grunts, mostly, GIs, soldiers, and the movement in the book is the reverse to Tolstoy. It's peace to war. And when the war comes, it's really a big relief. There is the strong feeling that had the war not arrived, these soldiers would have killed themselves by fighting, drinking, smoking, whoring, fleecing some queers, and drinking some more. Always drinking. The style Jones employs is very different from Hemingway. Hemingway was the master of the spare approach, clinical, minimal. Jones is lavish. He's created an opera with all of these mugs. His writing is sprinkled with adverbs, intensifiers, and Jones is always intense. His characters are screaming, roaring, raging, foaming. This huge story is very tightly wound. There are several references to Hemingway in the book, mostly to note, in a negative way, his depiction of women. Jones is poking fun at poor old Ernest, mired in misogyny and chauvinism, but he also has a laugh at his own expense when a character mulls over the idea of writing up a narrative of the things that have happened to him. And he thought that maybe he'd call it From Hair to Maternity. The title, by the way, comes from Kipling. And here I am, at the end of my time, and I haven't said a bit about the book. Since I want to do that, have to do that, you cannot go where the book takes you and not respond. I'll be doing it in a separate take. Hey, like I said, it's a big book. No shortcuts.